is now called to order.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the House of Representatives panel, we would like to call this bicameral conference committee meeting on the disagreeing votes on House Bill number 4058, or the fiscal year 2026 General Appropriations Bill, to order.
On the part of the Senate, for the record, allow me to state our members to the bicameral conference committee: Senator Mark Villar, Senator Pia Cayetano, Senator J.V. Arcito, Senator Lauren Legarda, who is present with us right now. Good afternoon, ma'am. Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan, who's also present with us. Good afternoon, sir. Senator Erwin Tulfo, who's also present with us. Good afternoon, sir. Senator Amy Marcos, who's also present with us. Good afternoon, ma'am. Senator Bongo, who's also present with us today. Other members of the Senate panel is Senator Camille Villar, Senator Bato de la Rosa, and yours truly.
Thank you. On the part of the House of Representatives, let me state for the record our members to the bicameral conference committee: Representative Albert S. Garcia, Representative Christine Singson Mihan, Representative Jose C. Alvarez, Representative Maria Carmen C. Zamora, Representative Rufus B. Rodriguez, Representative Jordin Jesus M. Romualdo, Representative Brian Raymond S. Yamsuan, Representative Javier Miguel L. Benitez, Representative Marcelino C. Libanan, Representative Alan U. T., and yours truly, Representative Micaela B. Swansing. Good afternoon, Your Honors.
With the permission of the chairperson, allow me to give my brief opening statement. To the esteemed conferees of this bicameral conference committee on the disagreeing votes on House Bill number 4058, my colleagues from the Senate Committee on Finance, and our counterparts from the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriations. It is my distinct honor to welcome you to this bicameral conference committee meeting. Every year, Congress convenes as a single body to finalize at Bicam its most important legislation, discussing the varying perspectives of each member and reconciling their fiscal priorities to craft a national budget that is coherent, transparent, and responsive to the needs of the Filipino people. This year finds us in extraordinary times. The 2026 national budget is being deliberated upon as the nation grapples with the corruption revealed in the flood control scandal. Public trust in our government institution has been shaken. And so it is imperative that we do everything we can to repair our social contract with the people we have sworn to serve. In response to this call, each chamber has demonstrated its serious and consensuous commitment to meet the people's demand for transparency. The Senate, in fulfillment of Senate Concurrent Resolution number 4, has made publicly accessible documents relating to the national budget all in digital format through a centralized Senate Budget Transparency Portal. And today, for the first time in history, the bicameral conference committee meeting on the 2026 national budget is live streamed. This is a recognition that the Filipino people are the ultimate stakeholders of every peso contained within every national budget. And as such, they have the right to know exactly where their taxes go. As we go to the Bicam proper, this meeting will seek to operationalize a procedure governing the initiation and passage of all appropriations bills pursuant to Article 6, Section 24 of the 1987 Constitution. This provision mandates that all appropriation, revenue, or tariff bills authorizing increase of public debt, bills of local application, and private bills shall originate exclusively in the House of Representatives. The same provision expressly empowers the Senate to propose or concur with amendments. This Bicam will be a parallel execution of this procedure by presenting the 2026 General Appropriations Bill as passed by the House of Representatives on third reading and deliberating on the proposed amendments of the Senate as passed on third reading to decide on the disagreeing appropriations. It is my deepest hope and prayer that through us, your conferees, each chamber will be able to fulfill its constitutional role. Hindi lamang upang mapanatili ang integridad ng sistema ng legislatura, kundi upang matiyak na ang pambansang budget na ito, ang kalooban at kapangyarihan ng sambayanang Pilipino ang mananaig. Sa ating pagpupulong sa araw na ito, pagtibayin pa natin ang prinsipyong nagbigay buhay sa ating republika at sa ligang batas. Ang paniniwala na lahat hindi pagkakaunawaan ay nabibigyan ng liwanag sa pamamagitan ng mahinahong diskusyon, bukas na pag-uusap at pagkakaisa. I know that as we review the varying fiscal and development priorities, we will be guided by the values of fairness, service, and justice. Pakinggan natin ang bawat pananaw ng may paggalang sa isa't isa. Alalahanin natin na ang budget na ating ipapasa ay huhubog sa buhay ng milyong-milyong mga Pilipino na sa susunod na taon. Panatilihin nating malawak ang ating pananaw lampas sa mga suliranin ng kasalukuyan tungo sa isang mapayapa at masaganang kinabukasan para sa ating mga kababayan. Siguraduhin natin na ang pambansang budget para sa taong 2026 ay magsisilbing daan sa pag-angat ng buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Ipakita natin sa kanila na hindi lang katang-isip ang isang gobyernong matino, bukas at kumikilos ng tama. Patunayan nating lahat na hindi natin pababayaan ang kanilang mga pangarap. Maraming salamat. Magandang hapon po.
With your permission, I will also deliver a brief opening remark on the part of the conferees of the House of Representatives. Honorable members of the House and Senate panels, distinguished colleagues in public service, members of the media who are with us here in PICC, and to our countrymen closely watching this historic day, good afternoon. We are here today not only to address the disagreeing provisions of fiscal year 2026 General Appropriations Bill, or House Bill number 4508, but also to continue a series of structural reforms that place transparency, accountability, and public participation at the center of our budget process. We started by abolishing the small committee and establishing the first ever Budget Amendments Review Subcommittee, or the BARC. The BARC's over 20 hours of deliberations on institutional amendments were live streamed, and all amendments approved were shown line by line. Moreover, all committee hearings and plenary deliberations were live streamed. We enhanced engagement with civil society organizations and conducted the first ever People's Budget Review. For the first time in recent history, the period of amendments in the House was open to all members, and all amendments were incorporated before the second reading approval. Ang makasaysayang araw na ito, ang pinakaunang araw sa kasaysayan na bubuksan sa publiko ang Bicam, ay sumasalamin po sa paninindigan ng Kongreso na tanggalin ang tabing sa usaping budget at talagang ipakita kung saan napupunta ang bawat piso ng buwis mula sa dugo at pawis ng bawat Pilipino. This is the actualization of the House's commitment since August, even before the budget deliberation started, to open and live stream the bicameral conference committee proceedings. And this is something the House and the Senate leadership have strongly advocated for jointly over the last few months. I would like to discuss key highlights of the House version of the GAB that the House panel puts forth to this bicameral conference committee. The 255 billion pesos from the removal of flood control projects under DPWH were reallocated mainly to the three key sectors identified by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.: education, health, and agriculture. Specifically, 201.1 billion out of the 255 billion pesos, or 79%, went to the following: 56.6 billion towards education, 90.7 billion towards health, and 53.7 billion towards agriculture. The budget for fiscal year 2026 will contain the highest budget education in history. With the 56.6 billion pesos added by the House of Representatives, the total budget for the education sector will be 1.28 trillion pesos, which translates to 4.1% of GDP. This is the first time ever in history that we will breach the 4% international benchmark. Of this 56.64 billion pesos, with the 35.1 billion added by the House, the budget for the Basic Education Facilities Program will increase to 63.2 billion pesos. This amount translates to around 25,200 new and rehabilitated classrooms in 2026, or 63% of the 40,000 classrooms envisioned by the President to be built and rehabilitated by 2028. Next, fiscal year 2026 will be the first year that we will be able Next, this is the first ever year that we will be able to fully fund the implementation of UACTE since it was passed into law in 2017. With the 4.48 billion pesos added by the House and the House special provision enabling the use of the 7.82 billion pesos from the Higher Education Development Fund, we will be able to fully fund the 12.3 billion peso deficiency to 113 SUCs in fiscal year 2026. This is something that the SUCs have been clamoring for the past 6 years. With a total funding of 52.2 billion pesos for UACTE, CHED-TES, CHED-TDP, TES the STEP, and TES the TWSP, we will be able to provide scholarships to 2.49 million learners. Next, under the health cluster, with the 90 billion pesos added by the House, the total health sector budget increased to 411.2 billion pesos. With the 60 billion pesos added by the House, the total subsidy for PhilHealth increases to 113 billion pesos, geared towards the improvement of benefits. With the 25 billion added by the House, the total for MAIFIP increases to 49.2 billion pesos to actualize the directive of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to provide zero balance billing for indigent patients in government hospitals. Next, under the agriculture cluster, with the 53.8 billion pesos added by the House, the total agriculture sector budget increased to 292.9 billion pesos. Of this, 10 billion pesos is provided for the presidential assistance for farmers and fisherfolk, expected to benefit 1.43 million farmers and fisherfolk. With the 35.5 billion pesos added by the House, a total of 74.5 billion pesos will be provided towards the construction and rehabilitation of farm-to-market roads and irrigation infrastructure. Moreover, 30 billion pesos is provided under RCEF towards the provision of farm mechanization and other inputs. The House also added 1 billion pesos for crop insurance, 2.4 billion pesos for the construction of deep water ports, and 200 million pesos for the implementation of the new Agrarian Emancipation Act. Lahat po ito ay para tulungan ang ating mga bayaning magsasaka na bumaba ang kanilang mga gastusin at mapataas ang kanilang ani at kita. To our colleagues in the Senate, our House panel looks forward to working with you in this bicameral conference committee in crafting a final version of the budget for fiscal year 2026 that truly is responsive to the needs of the Filipino people in our country. I am very hopeful because as we look at the two versions, we both have the same priority areas, which is education, health, and agriculture. Sa atin pong mga kababayan, tinanggal na po ng inyong Kongreso ang tabing sa usaping budget. Ginawa po ng inyong Kongreso ang lahat para siguraduhin na ang budget ay transparent, malinis at may sapat na safeguards para siguraduhin hindi ito maaaring maabuso. Pinapangako po ng inyong Kongreso na ang budget para sa taong 2026 ay mararamdaman ng bawat Pilipino, na ito ay tunay na tumutugon sa pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan at ng ating bansa, na ito ay isang budget na inyong mapagkakatiwalaan. Maraming salamat po para sa Diyos at Bayan.
Maraming